How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ruffled Rowlet, and welcome back to a brand new video, guys. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have something different from a rumor. Today, we have more or less a theory and a rumor and potential hints from Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, or for Pokemon Sword, Pokemon Shield, from Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. And I thought we'd talk about this. Now, this is actually a subject that I actually saw about 5 days ago. And now it's spurring up now, and the whole community is kind of like, noticing it a bit more. But I actually saw this about 5 days ago, and a viewer of me actually emailed me about this. And I didn't think much about it. I thought maybe it was just the tint of the coloring, which you'll see what I'm talking about. But I thought it was the tint and the coloring of the cave, the Mewtwo cave, that made, Melmetal look a little bit different. But it turns out that isn't what's going on. It's actually something different, and that's why I kind of disregarded it when I saw it the first time. But now, that more people have done more research on this, including my boy Fade. Fade did a lot of really good research on this. Since he's done the research, I thought we'd take a look at this, see what it's all about, and shout out to Fade, of course, which I'll link down below. If you want to check out his Twitter, give him a follow, it would be appreciated. But he's done a lot of research here into what the deal is with this and what the kind of connection could be. So I thought we'd start with this one right here, this first image. And we are actually on Twitter here right now, as you may notice. As I'm moving around, you'll notice we're on Twitter. So yeah, let's start with from the top though. We actually have a few tweets to go through here. We have a few tweets kind of breaking things down. But let's start with this one first. Yeah, that's definitely not a bug. It happens for every single crystal, even the smaller one. So it's for sure something they wanted to do, a trigger. Maybe a hint, and he of course adds a Pokemon Millennium. And here you can see, right, how the tint and the coloring on Melmetal is kind of goldish, It looks kind of like gold when it hits the crystals. And then if you go over here, you can see it's still kind of like goldish, right, when it hits the crystals. Again, same thing over here. Now, like I said, when I first saw this, I assumed this was nothing major. I assumed this was just simply, I don't know, maybe the game doing its thing, and just being a little bit bugged. But it turns out it isn't a bug, according to Fade here, after we did some more research. And he goes down here and says that, I'm talking about the fact that Melmetal changes color when he is attached to this cave crystals. And then he down here actually goes into another thing, which is, I think, this right here, which is, it is something like this. In this video, the color changes based on the click of the mouse. In our case, it's a collision box trigger. When a Melmetal's collision box interacts with the crystal ones, then the script changes its color, which is, I think we can kind of see that here from this one right here. If we just pause this and change the, or just look at this Unreal, I think it's an Unreal Engine piece of footage. So let's just check out how this works. Oh, so yeah, it's a trigger by the mouse. So when he clicks, it happens. It just changes the colors from a normal world colors to just kind of black and white. It's just grayish. So yeah. But definitely an interesting factor, if I'm going to be honest. When you bring in that set of things, knowing the fact that this probably wasn't a bug, and this is intentional, that opens up a lot of doors. And that's when we get slightly more, slightly more into the obscure and strange. And I'm going to give you my opinions in a second, but here is a thread that was made by Fade, which is pretty hefty with information here. So we're going to start from the top, which is, so, as you can see, every Pokemon near the crystals changes the light. It becomes brighter. Okay, but check the image below. Thanks to Stillader for the footage. I think I'm blocked by Stillader. Actually, I don't know. Maybe I probably am. Now, you can see it from the top, right? Shadow texture, and then light texture and shadow texture. And that's with every Pokemon, right? As soon as they walk in there, they actually change, their colors, kind of brighten up. But if you look at the shadow up there, right, there's the image of a Pokemon in a shadow. Actually, if we actually open this up, this picture up, I think we can even see this in a better light. Here you go. So here's a larger image, and we'll read the text as well. But if you look at the textures right here, and if I remove my face real quick, just so I don't block you guys, we'll just do that real fast. So let's see, and with the face cam, there we go. So if you look at the actual textures over here. Right there, see? This is a normal shadow texture, right? And here's a light one, and here's another one, and another one. But look at the difference here, though. So here's the Pokemon in the shadow, and over here, it's in, when it's just randomly walking around, which is, kind of what it's meant to be like. And here over here, you can see the same thing. If we scroll down, you'll see here's a shadowed one, in the shadows, and here's the light one. And if we go over here, you got the same thing. It just looks normal, But that's where the kind of the craziness starts happening, is once we get to that point, because you will start noticing now that for some reason it's only with the crystals that it has something strange happens. It doesn't happen in the shadows and randomly around here. Look at the image around here. This one over here is the one with the shadows, right? Here you have a Melmetal with the shadow, but here it is with light plus hue change. You know what I mean? Like here, that's when it touches the crystals, not just from the normal shadows. So it's a little bit strange. Now, here is what he basically explains. It's all the mons while entering an area near the crystals become brighter due to the light of the crystals. So you can see it on Magneton 2. Only Meltan and Melmetal change their colors so drastically. That's the point here, that, like, you know, because they're the only ones changing, that must mean that this whole, like, you know, because I've been doing a bunch of theories. You guys already know this. I've talked about this a million times, and you guys have suggested this a million times as well, that Meltan could be the thing that's going to be used, or Melmetal could be the one that's going to be used to make the armored evolutions, and maybe it's going to be a combination of the crystals plus the Meltan, you know, Meltan's body, that's going to be the thing used to kind of create these new forms of Pokemon. Now, it continues on saying here that could it be a bug? Sure, but I prefer to think, and also you guys probably can't see this because it's a little bit on the side here in a strange manner, but I'll put it right here so you guys can kind of see if you can read it. It's a little bit hard because, you know, reasons, but I'll see if I can zoom out and you guys can read it that way. There you go. Now we zoomed out a little bit more. So now you guys can actually read it as well. I want to make sure so you guys can actually see everything as well. But yeah, could be a bug, sure, but I prefer to think it's intentional. Because the mons in Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee use two different textures, normal and shadowed. These textures are used to make the transition between light zones and shadow zones. Melmetal's shadow texture is still gray. So it seems something special is done by the engine here, something scripted. Another clue can be found in other dungeons, where the light/shadow textures are working as intended, but not in the cave with the crystals, which is interesting. So if we continue down here, you'll see that seems too intentional to me, which is a technique I have posted in previous threads. Now I'll leave Stellar to continue with the speculation. If this is a hint, also, the body of Melmetal is done by a separated texture and has no orange variant. This is why I think it is intentionally added here. If you think that a similar reflectiveness is used on also on Alolan's Sand/Spikes, but he doesn't get any significant changes there. Okay, so to conclude, I suspect it is intentional for some reason. If not, well, it was fun and they will probably fix it, but for now I wouldn't be sure about that. Only time will tell. So yeah, I don't know, this is interesting. I mean, personally, I think this is a hint. I personally think this is a hint towards something in these games. I think this is going to hint, you know, some sort of like connection with, because I think Meltan and Melmetal, you gotta remember guys, Meltan and Melmetal still haven't gotten much of an explanation, or anything like that in regards to like what the deal is with these things. Like, I mean, we still haven't gotten any kind of like, you know what I mean, breakdown of these Pokemon or what the deal is with them. Like, nothing. We've got nothing. You know what I mean, about their background too much or any of that. We just have so little to work with. Hence why I feel like we definitely should be, you know, getting some more major information. And I want to also show you this, guys, which I think is a good speculation here by Fade. So here's what he says. So if we assume that the armors in Gen 8 are a thing, the armored evolutions, and if we assume that armors are made with the same metal of Melmetals that reacts with gemstones, then we can imagine that the gems in the mines can be used attached to armors to change their colors. And you can see right here, like I remember this cave actually, and there's a similar cave in Kalos. If you guys may remember, there's a similar cave in Kalos actually, which has these gemstones just like this. That are glowing and whatnot. And here, of course, you have Melmetal, you know, that's glowing. And then he continues on saying that would exclude the elemental armors thing, Scandinavian rumor, probably. Or not, if they find a creative way to implement that feature. Just an idea, though. Or maybe it's just a glitch, but I think not. Seems too intentional and very specific. I've also tested similar materials, like Magneton's metal, on Alolan Sandshrews, Alolan Sandshrews reflective spikes, but nothing happened. So I think this is a very intentional thing. The fact that it reacts just to the crystals and not just to the overall environment is very strange. And the fact that it changes color is just such an odd thing. And you gotta remember, we still don't know enough about Meltan and Melmetal, and there have been these theories that, you know, the hillside drawing looks like some different form of, you know, Melmetal or something like that. There's been, you know, discussions about how the fact that Melmetal, specifically Melmetal right here, the Pokemon you see right in front of you, showed up 3,000 years ago last time. And what happened 3,000 years ago? The Kalos and Galar conflict, you know what I mean? That happened. Or I mean, we assume it's between Kalos and Galar, but I think it's kind of, you know, guaranteed at this point. But you know what I mean? Like, that conflict happened 3,000 years ago. This thing last showed up 3,000 years ago. If Kalos used Mega Evolutions or AZ's weapon to their advantage, then these guys must have used Melmetal and its powers, maybe alongside these crystals, combining the two to make some sort of like, you know, new evolution for Pokemon, armored evolutions, that don't inherently have to be like, how do I put this? I mean, like, just because they're called armored evolutions, that doesn't mean they have to gain steel typing, but rather they can be like the whole Zeraora thing we saw the other day, which kind of has like this digital looking armor on it that looks really, really sick, but that doesn't mean that it gains another typing from that. Maybe it just looks different and gains a little bit more, you know, higher stats. That's what it could be, you know, the more logical thing here. So, ladies and gentlemen, personally, I've got to say, I love this theory. I love this whole idea here of, you know, the potential. The potential here is insane, and I love it. But the problem is, I don't know if it's real or not. I can't tell, and I can't really put a finger on it and just be like, this is guaranteed, but I want to know your opinions though, guys. Personally, I think we're going to be able to use Meltan or Melmetal, its body, to some level, to form these stones, maybe craft these stones with these other gems from this tunnel, you know, craft these gems that are going to be used to armor evolve our Pokemon, which I think would be pretty freaking cool. And he mentions here the elemental armor thing from the Scandinavian rumor, which I'm going to cover the Scandinavian rumor. If you guys want me to cover it today, comment hashtag Scandinavian rumor, and I will cover it today, because I actually really want to cover that one. It's an old rumor that I want to go through, but I haven't had the time yet. So if you want to see me cover the Scandinavian rumor, please hit that freaking, you know, comment down below, and also leave a like down below, guys. Let's see if we can hit 500. It would be really appreciated. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Shout out to Fade, by the way, for doing the amazing work here, which, top notch, buddy, top notch. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for watching, though. Have yourselves a great day, and bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen. Peace.